How's it going, everybody? Today is going to be a topic on Barack Obama, but more importantly, how Barack becoming the president of the United States has seemed to bring out racist feelings all across the world that, quite frankly, I didn't know still existed. You see, when Barack became president, a lot of people were happy, a lot of people were thrilled, a lot of people were crying because he had broke a racial barrier, which is indeed true. And it was something where, years ago, you'd probably say 10, 15 years ago, the standard for a black guy was just to get a job, make some money, feed his family, and pretty much not try to go to jail. But what Obama did was, by becoming the president of the United States, he had set a whole new standard for black people nationwide, okay? Now, many people had this standard before he became president, but it wasn't really as predominant as it is now, where it's like you see a guy that's holding the top office in the world and he's black, which inspires many other people to say, oh, I actually can do that. Now, the problem is that for some reason, Caucasians have been calling this guy every single name in the book, both publicly on YouTube, I mean, everywhere imaginable. It's just ridiculous. I don't like racism. I like everybody. I like Caucasians, I like Hispanics, I like Asians. I don't believe in not liking somebody because of their skin color. I get along with all races. Now, every race has their strengths, every race has their weaknesses, but I don't think it's fair to Obama that a good portion of the hate that he gets is because of his race. Now, every president has what we call, your haters and your supporters. But with Barack, it's more like a different dynamic because while he does have his haters, it's like there's some haters that are just like waiting to call him a coon or waiting to call him a Negro or waiting to just slip up at any moment. The worst part is, I think some of this just happens at the spawn of the moment and they don't even realize that they're being racist. I mean, you've seen the YouTube videos, you've seen the stories about how Obama's been called this in public, he's been called that, and they'll have the big story on CNN about whatever racist remark or whatever skinhead tried to kill Obama. It's just it's detrimental to society in the sense that we have a black president of the United States who has made history, but by the same token has brought a new sense of racism to the United States that, quite frankly, isn't needed. Um, it's just ridiculous to see people not like a guy. Number one, because he's black, that's bad enough, but because he's black and he's the president of the United States, it's like, deal with it, people. I mean, seriously, you're gonna not like a guy. Every decision he makes that you don't like, you're gonna call him a coon and say this Negro doesn't know what he's doing. He shouldn't be in office. That's just not right. It's just not right. It's like, let the man do his job. If you disagree with what he does, that's fine. But try to keep racism out of it. It's really not cool. I just don't understand. We've came so far as a nation, and racism, quite frankly, is probably going to always exist. I doubt that it's ever 100% gone, just because it's something that's been breeded in people's minds for centuries, quite frankly. But we can do a lot to prevent it and keep it minimal. And the one way to do that is to be open and accept people of all colors and all nations. And clearly, when Barack became the president of the United States, it opened up doors of racism that we didn't even know existed because it seems like it was bottled up emotion that was waiting to explode. Okay? And once it exploded, it just went out of line. And it's just okay, so we had 42 what Caucasian presidents. I'm sure that black people have probably called them cracker along the way. Okay. So it's not entirely, just a black thing. Oh, we have a black president and he's getting called all of these names. It's like, no, we've had like 42, 43, 50 billion white presidents, so to speak. And they've probably been called racist names too by black people. So the coin does go both ways. Um, the thing is that it's, to me, racism is immature. And it might sound strange to some of you, it might not sound strange to some of you, but to me, racism is very, very immature in the sense that how can you not like somebody because they don't do something or they don't look like what you want them to be? It's like a kid being in kindergarten and he's drawing and he's coloring, and the other kid has uh, crayons or utensils or toys that the other kid wants but can't have, so he doesn't like them and he's crying because he can't have these toys. It's like, come on, that's just kiddie stuff. So it's like you're not gonna like a guy because he's not your skin color and because he comes from a different ethnic background. It's like, get over yourself, like, really. Now, this isn't to say that all Caucasians are racist because they're not. Black people, we're pretty much just as racist as every other race. The difference is since black people have, been down to slavery for God knows how long, it's tend to be swept under the rug. So whenever a black person is racist, it's like, oh well, look at us. We've been held down for all these years. And it's like, yeah, you might have been held down for all these years, but it's like now you're not. And, you know, so you can stop that excuse. It's just kind of pathetic to think that because we're black, we have the right to call somebody a cracker, or we have the right to call somebody whatever, just any form of racist remarks possible because we're black and we can get away with it, and only white people are racist to us. It's like, let's just blame all of our problems on white people because they're racist. It's not like that. It's a double coin, and I don't think some black people realize that you just can't do that. It's not fair to them. It's like, yes, over time, Caucasians had black slaves. I mean, you learn that in elementary school. But it's like we live in a new day now, and you need to get over yourself because every black person, as far as I'm concerned, has the same opportunity as everybody else as long as you work hard for it and just grab it. To say that, oh, the man's got me down, it's bogus, just completely bogus. And the whole thing with Obama that just makes me laugh is that the dude is smooth. And I think someone of his character takes a lot of Caucasians back because it's not something they have seen before. And, for good reason. I mean, he's somebody, he plays basketball. He's really good at basketball. He talks fluently. He's very smart, but he's smooth. He's cool. He's just a smooth black dude. I don't know what else you could say about him. Like the way he dresses, style, he's just like awesome. So I can see why some people would be taken back by it because he's not your traditional president. He's not your traditional president that's, corporate politic, you know, I'm this Caucasian man in a suit and I'm the president of the United States. No, he's a black. By the way, he is half white. I think some people tend to forget that Obama is actually half white. But then again, that dates back to the idea that if you are half black and half white, technically you are black. That's just something that have pretty much evolved into its own thing. Black people like to claim they're people. So as far as black people are concerned, if you're half anything, but if you got some black in you, you're black. And we tried to claim Tiger Woods, but he didn't want to claim us, so that's fine. That's a whole different story. He said he was Asian or whatever the hell he said he was, and disowned us. And we kept supporting him and kept saying he was black, but you know, nothing really you can do about that. But that's just how black people are. I guess they just like to claim their people. Somebody has some black in them, they're black, and that's all it is to it, regardless of whatever else they have in them. But the whole thing is, you got to get used to something different. And Obama is something different. But at the same time, he's a very intelligent man. And I think most importantly, that's where the issue lies, is that you see a guy, black guy, president of the United States, and you're like, okay, this guy's black. So it's possible that he's not going to know what the hell he's talking about in given situations. But it turns out Obama does know what he's talking about. So that kind of sets people off when you look at the stereotypes that have been going on for years and decades and centuries and so on. But I think it's imperative to see that we have to get along, okay? This whole, you know, calling our president a coon, calling him a Negro, calling him every single racist name in a dictionary is really not helping. If anything, it's making us like him more because he has to go through this nonsense. And it's like, give respect. It's like, why would you pride yourself on being a racist? And if you don't think you're a racist, by saying these things on YouTube, by saying these things in public, you are a racist, dude. Let's just cut the crap. You're a racist. Regardless of whether you understand it or know it or not, you are a racist, okay? And I doubt you would say that to a black person's face. Not saying that all black people are tough, but you know how sensitive we are when it comes to race. Now, this brings me to a whole nother issue with black people in general, and that is now that Obama is president, well, he's been president, about to go on his second term. We all know he's gonna win, okay? You gotta stop with the nonsense, okay? Now, not everything is a white person's fault, okay? You didn't get a job. It's not because you're black, okay? Now, one thing you need to realize is that when you walk into a place and you're dressed like you're in the ghetto or you're dressed sloppy, there's a stereotype there. So when you're treated different, you got to look in the mirror and say, well, I did dress this way, okay? I did dress this way, and I can see why people are going to look at me like that. But you know something? That's also a double-sided coin because, okay, say I'm a white guy and I see some black guy walking in and some, you know, let's go with the Martin route with the hoodie and the whole, I'm gonna be a little suspicious, okay? But I'm gonna hear. But the smart thing to do would be to hear him out first before you make judgments, okay? If he walks in there with the hoodie, with the whole gangster appeal, and he's everything you thought he was gonna be, then you're right. He pretty much was a walking stereotype. But when he walks in there with a hoodie, jeans, boots, the whole look, okay? And it turns out he's an intelligent guy that can talk proper and can hold intelligent conversations. Then it's like the stereotype's gone. Now he's a walking stereotype in the fact that he's dressing a certain way and people are going to look at him this way. But at the same time, he's killing that stereotype by acting in a complete different manner, which is why I say it's a double-sided coin. Now, let's say a black guy walks in a suit. Okay. He walks in a suit. You're going to say, oh, this guy must have got some class to him. He's in a suit. He must have a nice job. Must be well behaved. Let's say this guy starts talking with the slang language and the cursing and the nonsense and the whole stereotype. Then what are you going to do? You're going to be shocked, right? Right, because that's not what you expected. So let's look at it this way, okay? A stereotype for a black person, okay, is hoodie, jeans, sneakers, anything of black appeal, basically, or apparel, whatever. A stereotype for a white guy, a violent white guy versus a violent black guy. A violent white guy because of what's happened. See, stereotypes are based on things that happen, okay? So you have to understand with stereotypes is that we haven't had the success that the Caucasian race has had over the years. Their stereotype is the guy in a suit that's making, I don't know, $200,000 a year and got a nice paying job and a house on the hills. Our stereotype has been just basically trying to make it out of the ghetto and having a nice job. But these stereotypes are based on past successes and failures, which is why it's imperative to reach out and break that ceiling and be something. Because it's like, if you do have that suit on and you're a black guy and you have the suit on and you got the house on the hills and everything, people are going to look at you and say, wow. And they're going to think two things. Either A, what the hell is he doing? Or B, wow, he made something for himself and he got out of whatever situation he was in. So with stereotypes, you just have to, it's a double, like I said, it's a double-sided coin, because if you dress a certain way, they're going to look at you, okay? If I see a white guy in a trench coat in 85-degree weather, then I think he's going to blow some shit up. That's just me. That's just, and that's based on, all of these instances that have happened with Caucasians in schools, bombings and gun shootings and, the whole nine. Now, if this same dude has a trench coat on and he's talking proper, it's like I'm going to be all messed up in the head, because I'm going to be like, what the hell is going on? So that's why I say it's a double-sided coin, because you're going to be judged based on what you wear, okay? Now, the thing to change that is by the way you act. So I don't think it's fair to tell people they should change the way they dress, because I like wearing hoodies. Hell, when I was in college, all I did was wear hoodies. I was a hoodie guy every day, okay? So it's not fair to tell people that they need to change the way they dress. However, you do need to change the way you act, okay? If you are black and you are walking into a store or you are walking into a professional environment, okay, and you are wearing these street clothes, people are gonna look at you like you are from the streets and that you probably have no business being there. But if you are able to carry an intelligent conversation, that's going to change the way people view you. They're going to be surprised, because they're going to be wondering, why is this guy that's dressed like he's about to rob me is talking intelligent, and he's carrying himself well, and he's just a very well-mannered person, okay? That's going to throw people for a loop. Where am I going with all of this? I don't know, okay? This is just scrambled all over the place. Basically, it all really comes back to how Obama has single-handedly, mind you, changed the face of America by exploiting racism that I didn't even know existed, okay? And I appreciate the guy more because he has to deal with the nonsense. Because me, personally, I didn't think he was going to have to go through these things. I figured he would go through a couple of, I don't know, skinhead killings or whatnot, or potential killings. I don't mean to say skinhead killings. I mean to say, attempted murders, basically. But I didn't think that the guy was going to get all of this that he's gotten. And it's kind of mind-boggling to think that we have fought for decades to avoid this situation, and it's right back in our face. And it makes you wonder, what did Martin Luther King fight for? What did Malcolm X fight for? Or what about this? What about what the Caucasians fought for when they actually sided with black people on ending racism? And I think that's very, very forgotten. A lot of people forget the fact that not all Caucasians are racist. There are many Caucasians out there who have been supporting black people and have been trying to end racism for decades. Okay? But that's always swept under the rug because you look at the majority of things. You look at things in the big picture. You don't look at them in the small picture. So you look at the Caucasian race as a race, not different parts of a race, not different personalities in a race, just one race. And you characterize and categorize all of them by one thing, whatever is the majority thing that's possible. So, since there was a good portion of Caucasians who did have racist feelings back then, you characterized the whole race. And that's kind of hurtful to the Caucasians who actually was trying to do the right thing, okay? So, basically, I'm just encouraging everybody to like one another because we're going to be here forever, and it's just not healthy to sit there and hate another person because he's in the number one office in the United States and he just happens to be black. It's like, deal with it. He's your boss, he's the man. You didn't expect it because you're not used to it, but guess what? What are we going to do when we have our first Asian president? Are we going to tell him to go back to Asia? Are we going to tell him to make me some Chinese food? Are we going to tell him do some karate? Are we going to be racist towards him? Because that's not fair to him either. Asians have been abused over the years. They've, you know, gone through a lot of stuff. What about the first Hispanic president? Are we going to call them orange pickers and everything else is stereotypical with them and talk about how they carry knives all the time and say, hey, Mr. President, don't stab me? It's like, come on. It's like, as far as I'm concerned, I see gray. I don't see black and white. And I will judge you based on how you act, okay? If you're a prick, then you're a prick. If you're a nice guy, then you're a nice guy. Black, white, Asian, Indian, it doesn't matter, okay? I like everybody. I like to get along with everybody. I think, you know what? I think most Caucasian people are cool actually. They are, they are just like everybody else in this world, you know. And you do have your Caucasians that are upper class and smug and they're better than everybody else. But so what? Every race has those to some degree, just not as predominant as the Caucasian race. But so what? It's like basically I'm gonna be wrapping this up, and it's everywhere, quite frankly. But I just want everybody to know that being the president of the United States and being black is not the end of the world. You're still gonna live, okay? And you just need to deal with it, okay? All right. Before the next show, thank you for everybody for listening.